Hello friends. Yesterday at 2 p.m. local time, the government of the Republic of Artsakh surrendered to the invading forces of Azerbaijan. They agreed to disband all of their self-defense forces, to lay down their weapons, and to hold negotiations today on quote-unquote reintegration into Azerbaijan. This is being widely reported as a ceasefire, and many journalists, many observers seem to think that this means that the fighting is over, the violence is over, the danger is over. That is not true at all. This is the most dangerous moment right now. There has been no electricity for most of the population of Nagorno Karabakh for 43 hours now. That means that people have not been able to charge their cell phones or their computers. People aren't able to communicate about what's happening to them. Azerbaijani troops have occupied the country. They control most of the main roads. There are many, many villages that are cut off from the rest of Nagorno Karabakh, and we have no way of knowing what's happening inside those villages. Yesterday, it was reported that Azerbaijani troops had taken the entire village of Taghaverd hostage, and that the village of Mets Davtyan was surrounded and under fire, even after the ceasefire was agreed to. And we haven't heard anything from these places since. Again, this is not surprising because communications are really down in most of the territory. Every time since 2016 that Azerbaijan has conquered Armenian land that still had Armenians in it, those Armenians have been kidnapped, tortured, and killed. We have no reason to believe that it will be different this time. The only difference is that there are 120,000 Armenians in this situation now. The road to Armenia is still not open. People cannot leave, especially people who are in villages that are surrounded by Azerbaijani troops. And the Azerbaijani authorities are announcing that they're going to punish criminals, quote unquote, whatever that means, and that no one will be allowed to leave if they haven't been checked by the Azerbaijani authorities. Military service in Nagorno-Karabakh is mandatory for all able-bodied men. That means in the eyes of the Azerbaijani government, virtually every man in the territory is an insurgent or a terrorist or whatever word they choose to use it. This is extremely, extremely serious. Thousands of people have taken shelter at the Stepanakert airport. This is an airport that's controlled by Russian peacekeepers who are apparently not treating the people well. They have no food, they have no water. Some of them are sleeping in the open air. And this airport has not been in operation for over 30 years because Azerbaijan promised to shoot down any plane that took off from it all those years. So there are no flights available, there are no flights coming. People have simply gone there in the desperate hope that there might be some flights and they might be able to leave. So this is, as I said, the most dangerous moment. This is probably when atrocities are going to happen, and we will find out about it only later. Thousands of people are missing, unable to communicate with their family members. What remains of the local government is trying to organize an effort to put people back together, to connect them to their missing relatives and their missing friends. But there's no fuel in the territory, there's no electricity, so this is extremely, extremely difficult. The UN Security Council is going to meet today to discuss the crisis. They have to act now. They have to take firm measures to evacuate the Armenian population of Nagorno-Karabakh to prevent mass atrocities. If they don't, we really don't know what will happen, but it will be nothing good. I wish I had better news to share, but that seems to be where we are right now. And it's a minor point, but I do want to share something that I came across yesterday, which really speaks to two problems. One problem is that journalists seem to be taking the language of the aggressor, of the genocider, at face value, adopting it as their own language, without really interrogating what it means, without thinking about it critically. And the other problem is that the Christian world at large has been throughout this crisis and still is just so disconnected from the realities of life in Nagorno Karabakh for their Christian brothers and sisters. So this is an email that I received from, it's a publication called The Sift, which is part of, as I understand it, World Magazine's publications. This is an evangelical Christian news magazine. And they just had a brief item about this war, and they said, quote, "Local Armenian authorities on Wednesday accepted a ceasefire plan put forward by local Russian peacekeeping forces. Azerbaijan also agreed to the arrangement. Under the agreement, ethnic Armenian forces in the region will disband, and talks will begin Thursday to reintegrate the area into Azerbaijan." That could have been taken from an Azerbaijani Ministry of Defense press release. For all I know, it was taken from an Azerbaijani Ministry of Defense press release. This is not a ceasefire. This is an unconditional surrender by a besieged people to the dictatorship that has been starving them for 9 months. This is a recipe for mass atrocities. And if you're not reporting it that way, you're just being a stenographer for one of the worst dictatorships in the world. I'm sorry, that's the reality. The item continues, "Some ethnic Armenians believe the area is their ancestral homeland." The area is their ancestral homeland. This is a historical fact. This is not disputed by anyone, again, outside the Azerbaijani Academy. How could we be so far away from our brothers and sisters? How can we be so ignorant about the first Christian nation, about the first nation in the 20th century to experience a real genocide? What is wrong with us? Please pray for our brothers and sisters in Nagorno Karabakh, and please continue to call your representatives, call the president, call your MP, tell them you care about the fate of the Armenian people of Nagorno Karabakh, of Artsakh. Thank you for listening.